nuestros barrios. And I'm doing this TED Talk to bring a different view on the issue of gentrification. When searching up the definition of gentrification, Google states that it is a process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle-class taste. Some people may consider the true definition of gentrification to be an abomination that plagues the poor communities and makes their overall status worse, so that rich white folks can further elevate their economic status. Gentrification is also a form of whitewashing and refining these unwanted poor communities, creating modern-day segregation. Although all of this may be true, gentrification is a complex issue because for all its negative effects, it also has some positive. The court case Brown versus the Board of Education segregation was legally ended in the year 1964. Eventually, the American government created a new sugar-coated version of segregation and decided to name it gentrification. Strong evidence of this is found in the city of Levittown, which was built in the 1930s. It is said that this city could not have been solely built on the efforts of the Levitt family and had help from the American government. In the radio program, All Things Considered, the American historian who focused his study in segregation within the United States, Richard Rothstein, stated that the government agency Federal Housing Administration guaranteed bank loans for the construction and development of Levittown. However, this would only be done if the family agreed that every home had a clause in its deed that would prohibit the resale of homes to African Americans. In order to further create segregation, dominant black neighborhoods were made undesirable by putting them alongside things such as waste disposals and industrial plants. Due to the African Americans not being able to live near or even buy a home next to white people, the government found a way to create segregation throughout our country all over again without ever being bold enough to call it segregation. Progressing to adulthood, I learned that much of my community have or are suffering from mental health issues. The four most common issues that I have witnessed are depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and mood swings. The article When Gentrification is a Mental Health Issue, written by Marcia Ruscio, talks about a study that was conducted on mental health issues that vastly lead to hospitalizations and emergency room visits. They learned that folks who were displaced had the same rates as people which remained before they were displaced, which was 0.8 per year on hospitalizations and 2.3 per year on emergency room visits. They also learned that these rates doubled for those who were displaced to those who were stayed. This means that once the poor communities migrated into an area with less resources as well as help from their community, the number of hospitalizations increased from 0.8% to 1.6%, and the number of emergency room visits increased from 2.3% to 4.6%. Situations like these further oppress people who are forced to migrate because now they have no help at all and are most likely to find the resources. That gentrification positively affects the community is that families who manage to stay in these areas experience an increase in overall and low-income wages, as well as a decrease of people who live underneath the poverty line. By the NYU Farmer Center found statistics that showed the average income of households that are currently being gentrified in New York grew about 7.3% in the 1990s and roughly about 6.1% between 2000 and 2014. This study also showed that households that were already gentrified or had higher income wages had a minimal increase in the 1990s and actually had a decrease in 2000 and 2014. Because throughout those 14 years that were measured, those who chose to stay actually received a monumental increase for their job income, and this increase is actually positive for the community because even though they pay more rent, they also receive more financial gain, which accommodates and balances out the increase in rent that is actually being gentrification ultimately does not affect all and only pushes out the lower income class and not much towards the middle class. The debate whether or not gentrification could be a positive or negative in the community has no definitive answer. It is true that gentrification can positively affect the community, and it is also true that gentrification can negatively affect a community.